Honorable people attended that listing. Within the Republic Committee, within the War Crimes Court, the Economic Crimes Court, and the National Anti-Corruption Court.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, distinguished colleagues. On behalf of the Joint Committees on Judiciary, Good Governance, Human Rights, and Ways, Means, and Finance, consistent with the agenda, the bills received from the executive through the office of to establish the War Crimes Court. One was on the proposal to create one court that would deal with war crimes as well as deal with economic crimes. The other bill we received from the executive refers to the bill to create a national anti-corruption court. Precedent to that, there are several instruments that were also either received from this House as well as from the Senate, from civil society organization calling for the establishment of the War Crimes Court, from the Liberia Bar Association calling for the War Crimes Court, as well as our own resolution that we signed in 2024 calling for the War Crimes Court. These bills put together were reviewed by the Joint Committee of both houses, and we have conducted series of hearings. We have had over 15 witnesses appearing for the last 3 weeks at the Senate conference room, and summary of the feedback we got from the witnesses that was number one, on war crimes. 3 of the bills that received had conflicting provisions with the Constitution. For example, the rights to appeal. The proposal to establish a war crime code under that structure provides for 2 chambers, a peace chamber and trial chambers. And part of the provisions of the draft bill was to require, if you want to take a appeal, you go to the trial chambers, and if the trial chambers and the peace chamber hears that case, it becomes final. That provision contradicts the current provision in the Supreme Court. The second one was about establishing this court that has the appellate jurisdiction. Even though the Supreme Court on our law has the singular appellate jurisdiction, Article 66 of our Constitution says that the legislature cannot create or pass any law that would take away that power of the Supreme Court to go to any other institution of government. So those were the issues that were raised. The other one was that the use of evidence in the one of the bills was that you will be responsible to provide evidence, and our law prohibits that. You cannot provide evidence against yourself. The other aspect was the War Crimes Court. The dominant view is that we cannot, however, combine the economic crimes with the War Crimes Court. Even though the actions that were created may have fueled the war, but they are 2 different subject matters. And on our Constitution, the law deals with one subject at a time. So to deal with the War Crimes Code at the same as deal with economic crime code, they contravene the way we prepare our laws. So there's a proposal to separate that. The other aspect of that is the corruption, the National Anti-Corruption Code. So far, most of the cases documented of corruption cases, they are economic in nature. So why create 2 codes that will create, clash in terms of how to operate? Therefore, we have been advised so far that whether it is an economic crime or it is a corruption code, we should create one code and provide for concurrent jurisdiction, which means, for example, we have the code that deals with civil code that deals with matters relating to maybe tax fraud. We got the what they code there? Just forgot the code name. No, not the debt code. They got a commercial code. Commercial code deals with matters that are petty in terms of the value, small values or cases they will deal with, and then we'll go to the next one. So the technical recommendation is that yes, we can create a national anti-corruption code. It can also deal with any matter, even if it's through the war. Yes. The other aspect is to deal with the prosecutor. There's a provision in the law that provides for a chief prosecutor, which would be an international lawyer, consistent with best practice. But then the current anti-corruption law also gives LSCC the power to prosecute. So in this matter, there will be conflicts as to who does what. So we advise that we also look at that, so we don't create clash as to taking away the powers of LSCC and give it to the court. Lastly, I want to say is that the nature of the court, even though it has been homegrown, but the crimes that we are talking about, the war crimes, are crimes that have been defined by international instrument, international law. Therefore, we cannot have an exclusive domestic court. In two of the bills that came before us suggest that the court should be exclusively domestic. If we do it that, then it means that we will not be subscribing to the already international law that we acceded to already. Therefore, there's a recommendation that we have a hybrid code where because we'll be using the international law and we will as well as be using our domestic law based on the crimes that were committed, law that existed before the crimes were committed, even before the war started. And to have the international bargaining as well, though it is homegrown, we'll have a hybrid code that will be backed by the UN to give us that support, because some of the perpetrators may be non-Liberians. You may want to get them to the country to be tried. If you don't use that modality, then it means that you will not be able to. Even some of the financiers about the war, they will not be Liberian. If you don't use the hybrid model, they will not be able to get to them. In conclusion, the security nature with the establishment of war transport in Liberia was also highlighted, and that the court should be victim-centered. Therefore, the committee suggests that before we pass on the bill, we need to hold sufficient consultation with our people so that we clarify and they will be able to inform most of the things that we want to do when we return from our break. So this is where we are with the law, and we will have to harmonize all the 5 different bills that we receive into one document to be able to make a better determination. So this is why we are, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Deputy Speaker, colleagues. I want to thank you. Yes. At the timeline, we have shared a timeline that we believe that between now and December, there's sufficient time for us to hold all the consultation and have the bill passed. Yes, because we need financial support to do all those things. Yes, we need money to be able to get some technical support, legal services. We need some money to be able to do that, because we want to make sure that the law is not only domestic but as well as international. We want to make sure that yes. So thank you very much. If you have questions, I will hand pause here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, and thank the committee for what the chairman just presented. indicates that we need time to get our constituents to be able to get this message across, so that when we pass on this bill, we will have sufficient evidence on the basis that we'll gather from our constituencies. And also to look for resources to be able to consult with the various citizens in Liberia. So I think the support you have here. We will want to say thank you so much for the report. Since you have the preliminary report, we'll send you back to the work board and come up with time now on which we can legalize for your resources. Thank you so much. You have also thank you. Thank you, committee. Yes, sir. Report for the committee election. Report the committee election is over election regarding the setting of the electoral threshold.
That's Honorable Speaker. Republic of Liberia, House of Representatives.